Welcome to the Learning League podcast, where the most influential minds in learning assemble. I'm your host, Cheryl Powell, owner of Learn to Engage. This is the show that challenges the way we think about leadership, learning, and performance in today's fast moving world. And in this episode, we're exploring a powerful but often underutilized approach: turning your message into a movement through speaking. Today's guest is Heather Black, founder of Phoenix Collaborations and a seasoned speaking strategist with over 25 years in the events industry. Heather helps authors, experts, and business leaders go beyond posting on social media to creating intentional, results driven speaking strategies that get them in front of the right audiences. Her process is more than just booking stages, it's about building relationships, crafting repeatable systems, and ensuring every event is worth the time, effort, and investment. At the Learning League, we know influence isn't just about what you know, it's about how far your message travels. In this episode, Heather reveals how to find your audience, measure the true return on speaking gigs, and create a lasting impact long after you leave the stage. Welcome, Heather.
Good morning, Cheryl. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. We are so excited to get started and learn more about how you got your start. So, before Phoenix Collaborations existed, what path were you on, and how did you get to this place of entrepreneurship and speaking strategist?
Probably in a very unlikely path. So many people that start businesses, that was a dream that they had all their lives, right? Like, I want to have my own business. And that had never been my goal. I had never had that goal. And I was working in the nonprofit industry. I was planning educational events for physicians and veterinarians and, helping them provide better care for their patients. And love what I did. I love the event industry. And as we all know, 2020 happened. And while I was very, very blessed to keep my job, we had the opportunity, we took pay cuts, our hours were cut, all of those things. And suddenly I had time to do other things. And so God started kind of nudging me like, oh, I think you should start your own business. And I was like, Thank you, but no." Right? Like, but he just kept nudging and nudging and nudging. And
Yes,
that's what he does. And finally
yes.
I realized he sent a couple of signs. He sent a pigeon in the road. There was an interaction with Marco Simonis. There was a keynote with Cameron Hughes at an event that I had planned. And just these little gentle nudges that kept pushing me in that direction. And finally in 2022, I was like, I think he might be serious about this. And so I stepped back to part-time work and started figuring out exactly how I would do that and what that would look like.
Yes.
And so now I launched officially on November 11th of 22, and now we're almost 3 years old. And it's just been this continuing journey of growth and developing my skill set and understanding of what skills I really bring to the table. Because originally I thought I would just help people, plan their events and manage the details of their speaking engagements, right? Organize all
Right,
those details. I call myself a detail wrangler. But
right.
what I really bring to the table is so much bigger than that, because what I found was that most people, they were just trying to do all the things, but they didn't have a clear strategy around what they were trying to do in their business. And so I can
Mhm.
bring that piece to the table.
And it's so unique. First of all, your title, I love it. And just what you do is just so unique in the way that you follow your client throughout the entire journey. And I think that's what I love the most about what you do. Is there anything that ignited the spark inside you just to help people get their message out to larger audiences?
That's always been a passion from the time that I landed in the event industry and really seeing that transformative power that events have, that you can get on a stage, that power of one to many, right? When you can stand on a
Yeah,
stage in a room of 50 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, you can exponentially grow your impact as opposed to your small groups and your one-to-one sessions, and being able to see rooms literally transformed by one person's message is so
yes,
inspiring to me, and helping people that have those powerful message, right? They bring such impact to what they do. I
yes,
really enjoy working with those mission driven, impact focused. They're in it for a much bigger thing than just, I'm looking to grow my business, right? I really want to help
yes,
people become the best version of themselves, or I want to help people be better with their finances, or whatever their message is. Their
yes.
goal is to reach as many people as possible. Because when we start making those kind of ripples, they
Mm,
go home and they're better partners, they're better parents, they're better employees, they're better in their community. And that ripple
love
goes
that.
out, and that's how we change the world. And so my mission with my business is to impact over 1 million lives, one client at a time.
Wow. And I know that you're going to reach that goal. I love that analogy you just said, ripple effect. That's powerful in and of itself. Just one person touching another person, right? Wow.
Yeah.
When someone comes to you and they're unsure about how to reach more people, what's the process where you can begin uncovering the right path for them?
So the first thing that we do is we really talk about, we get clear about their why, right? We kind of sit down and create a strategic plan, and then it kind of includes the 5 W's, right? But we start with their why. Why are you doing this? Why does this matter to you? Why does it matter to your audience? Because that's going to help us identify what goals we're going to set. And then we look at who really needs to hear this message. Where are they? Where are we going to find them? What stages do we need to be on? What are we expecting them to do afterwards, right? What is our call to action? Are we asking them to sign up for a program? Are we asking them to go make some change in their life? Are we just here to inspire them to do that? And then we look at when. When do you have time? Because most of my clients are very busy business owners, right? They have a full client load, they have a busy business. And so adding one more layer of work to that can be challenging. And so what I don't want them to do is to feel like, and I had somebody say this to me just a couple weeks ago, it feels like another full-time job because of what she was doing was apply, apply, apply. And I was like, well, that's
Yeah,
not very effective, probably. So we look at when
yeah.
you have time and we set goals around that so that you feel like you can accomplish what I am asking you to do every single week.
And you said they said it felt like a full-time job. Were they talking about their marketing? Because I know I feel that way with social media marketing.
No, she was talking specifically about her speaking, and it was because the
Yeah,
program that she was in was telling her just apply, apply, apply. And so when I met her in a networking event, and of course, you know, you say what you do, blah, blah, blah. And so she got a
yeah.
little bit defensive with me, and she was like, oh, well, let me guess, you just tell people to go apply, 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 right? And I was like, no. And she was like, because that's what the program I'm in says. And I was like, well, my guess is that that's not being very efficient or effective for you. And she was like, no, it feels like a full-time job and I don't have time for this. And I was like, and you're probably not seeing good results. And she was like, no, I'm not. And I was like, yeah, that's probably not a good way to do it. And she said, well, what do you tell? And so I gave her in a nutshell what I do. And she was like, oh my God, that makes so much more sense. Because if you're trying to grow your business, if you're trying to get more visibility and you're trying to
Right.
use speaking, it's not just send out some applications and get booked to speak and you're going to start being paid 10K to speak. That's not how it works. So there is some work that has to be done. I tell my clients this all the time when they come to me. I'll be like, this is not a get rich quick scheme. This is a long-term strategy to grow your business, to grow your visibility, and you're going to have to put in some work. So if you don't have time right now to do the XYZ that we need to do, now's not the time because I cannot build your relationships for you. I can build systems and I can help you put some things in place and I can give you templates, but I cannot build your relationship. So if you don't have time, then this is not the right time for us to work together.
Yep. Yeah, so definitely have the time to dedicate whatever, amount is required weekly or monthly to be able to make this work.
Right.
Before they even start, I know you probably have some folks that have fears about speaking that they need to overcome. Do you have any technique to help them with that?
Yeah, that we do a lot of I don't want to use the word coaching, but it really is coaching around their fears, right? And a lot of times what happens is that fear of being seen. It's the fear that someone's not going to like my message. It's the fear that my message doesn't matter. Your message matters and somebody needs it. Right. And so it's just a matter, and a lot of times what happens is it starts showing itself when suddenly they stop doing the outreach they need to be doing, or suddenly they're not moving forward in the program. And you're like, well, why, what's the whole, what's the hold up? What's the obstacle? What are we trying to overcome here? Why
Yeah.
are you not focused on this? And sometimes life happens, right? Well, right now, my
Sure.
mom's sick and I'm trying, okay, good. Then we're going to put a pause on this for right now, right? But a lot of times it becomes, well, I didn't really want to reach out. I didn't want to bother them. We start to shrink, particularly as women. A lot of my clients are women, and we start to shrink, right? Because when we start getting out there and we stand in our power and we say, this is who we are and this is my message, people
Yeah.
aren't going to like that. Well, I don't care, right? But somebody needs it. And so you have to
Sure.
continue to stand in that power. And so we do sometimes a lot of that work around that mindset of, yeah, somebody's not going to like it, but that means it matters. When somebody starts giving you pushback and somebody starts, trolling you for lack of a better word,
Yeah.
you've unlocked a new level of achievement. Good job. You made somebody uncomfortable.
Yes.
Now you can start reaching the people who need to hear what you have to say.
Wow. Now, you're not, I said this earlier, you're not just booking events, right? Okay,
Right.
you're off. Bye. You're actually have built a structured approach to this whole speaking strategy. So, can you kind of walk us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, it kind of came to me last fall when I was pitching a client. I was putting together a proposal and I realized what she really needed was like one of my standard packages. I was like, she needs something totally different. And so I created a brand new package and I said, will you beta test this for me? And she did. And basically, it's my signature process called the Phoenix Effect, and it has three pillars of success: your strategy, your organization, and your profitability. And so the first thing we do is we put that strategic plan in place: your why, your who, your what, your when, and those things. But then we get really organized about it, right? Because there are certain things that you need to be doing at each phase of your speaking engagement, right? When you're in that early phase, you're in that spark phase, I call them spark, flame, and ember. And there's a way to track it and manage it so that it's not overwhelming, because the last thing you want to do is spend a lot of time trying to go back and find, when did I send that email? When was the last time I reached out to this person? So there's a lot of relationship development that goes on. So we get really organized in managing those pieces.
Mhm.
And then the reason we're doing this, right, is to grow our businesses, is to be profitable, whatever that might look like. Whether you're looking to be profitable because I want to make my income as a speaker, or you want to be profitable in your business. And so we put some
Yes.
metrics that we
It's
track in
two
place
separate
so that we can
things.
actually identify. Yeah, yeah. You have to be able to say, not just that I got paid $7,500 for the speaking engagement, that's great, but was it profitable? How much time did you spend on preparing and traveling and doing the things that you weren't doing revenue sales in your business, right? You're not doing those activities. And how long from the people that you met at this event and heard you speak before you got clients, before you got another speaking engagement, before those things. So we really dive into, what does profitability look like for you? And what are the metrics that we need to track to measure that? And how long is it taking us to get there? So if it's taking 6 months, how can we shrink that?
Okay, I see. So you're able to measure the investment and the outcome to make sure it's beneficial to them.
Yes. Yeah. And if
Okay.
we find that we're doing a lot of speaking engagements and we're not getting clients, we're not, then there's something off on our strategy, right? We need to tweak
Yeah.
our who, we need to tweak our why. But a lot of times people are aware, they're not necessarily looking at those things. They're just, I got a speaking engagement. And that's great, right? I got on a stage. Yeah, that's great. But we need to look at what the outcome was. And a lot of times when I talk to my clients in that ember phase, when the speaking engagement's over, I'll be like, well, what are you doing to follow up? Not just with the people you connected with, but with the meeting planner. And they're like, well, I connect with them on LinkedIn or I sent an email.
Yeah.
But what are you doing to nurture those relationships and continue to grow that? Because that's where the magic is going to happen. And they're like, well, I don't. Okay, well, we need to put some systems in place to do that.
So the meeting organizer could be like a person within the organization.
Yeah,
Um, okay. So then if you nurture that relationship, then they'll keep you in mind for other things that come up, or if someone might, ask for a referral, they'll have you top of mind. Am I kind of getting that right?
exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
You're totally
How?
getting that right. It's a gold mine because here's the thing, and this is the thing that happens, right? We just think that we did a great job, and the meeting planner's just gonna always think about us and it, but they're gonna go on to the
Yeah.
next thing. But the meeting planner doesn't want to have to cultivate new speakers every time. They
Yeah.
want speakers that they know are good partners, that deliver a
Yeah.
great message, that their audience wants to hear. But you have to continue to cultivate that relationship and continue to provide value long after the event's done. It's not just a matter of sending a thank you and asking for a referral or a testimonial or, whatever. Those things are
Right.
important and that is part of the process. But it's about continuing to provide value to that event planner, that meeting host,
Yeah.
long after, because then that's where rebookings and more referrals come in. And if you do it properly, then what happens is it just starts to become organic. Right,
Yes.
you don't have to do quite as much work. It starts to
Yeah.
become organic because you become known as the expert, and every meeting planner you've worked with or event host, whatever title that they use, then they're out there saying, "Oh, you need somebody to talk about AI. You've got to have so and so. You need somebody to talk about education. You got to have Cheryl. You got to have this person. You got to have that person." Right? You become known as the expert that you are, but that takes time to build that reputation.
Yeah. Wow. So, if I wanted to book engagements to expand my business, and let's just say I wanted, 10 uh, consultant requests, right, or inquiries after each one, right? That would
Hmm.
be something that you could measure.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Because we would
Okay.
look at when you got back, we would sit down and be like, okay, who did you connect with?
Yeah.
And how many people on site said, okay, I want to work with you. Let's have a consulting call. How many calls did you book in that moment? And then how many
Okay.
people do you have to follow up with? And then
Right.
from there, how many proceed forward and book a call, right? Because some people aren't going to book it right in that moment. They're going to want to kind of
Yeah.
check you out a little bit. They're going to follow you on
Exactly.
LinkedIn, but you're going to reach
Yeah.
out and follow up and continue to provide value to them.
Yeah.
And then they're going to book that call. And then how long did it take us to get from that book call to paying clients? Because that's
Oh,
how we know if you're successful or not.
that's another, yeah. Yeah, that's another thing too. Because if somebody doesn't, book right away and it's like not until 7 months later, yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting all distracted. This is so interesting. I've never heard of this concept before. That's why I really love what you do. Let's talk about platforms. So, not
Yep.
everybody wants to be on stage like a TED Talk with 50,000 people looking at them. The lights are shining on you, right? Not everybody wants to be using that platform. So, how do you manage that?
Yeah, I work with my clients where they are, right? And if they're like, "Oh, I don't want to be in a room more than, 30 people, Heather, it just makes me uncomfortable." We can start small. And if you always want to stay in that room with 30 people, if that's your wheelhouse and you're getting profitability from it, I'm not ever going to push you to be on the stage with 10,000 people in the room.
Okay.
Then I have clients that their goal is I want to be on these big stages. I want to be that 10K keynote speaker. I want to be that person. Okay,
Wow.
great. We can get there too. But it's
Yeah.
really about identifying where your audience is, where your skill set is, where do you need to be right now? And if it needs to
Yeah.
be, I need to be in a room at the chamber, at the luncheon, being the speaker, for
Yeah.
30 people. then let's
Yeah.
look at that. Let's find those people that we can connect with that can put you in those places, in those rooms.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. All right. So you got somebody a speaking engagement. How do you guide them into turning that one opportunity into ongoing bookings, right? You kind of talked a little bit about nurturing the meeting coordinator, doing follow-ups. Is there anything else you want to add to that to make this continuous cycle happen?
Yeah, so the first thing that we do is as soon as you get booked and we move that engagement into the flame phase, there are things that we're going to be doing from the time you're booked to the time you speak to be a good partner so that that
Okay.
meeting planner wants to work with you again and they want to tell their friends, right? Because you don't want to be that person that they had to follow up with 16 times to get your headshot, like, right? So there are just things that I can tell you don't be that person. Don't do. And so we put a system in place so that you're just it's very easy. You have it all organized and you just go and do the things, click, 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 check, check, and you check all the boxes, right? But
Love
then
it.
again, it comes into that ember phase once you step off that stage. It's not just about the meeting planner, it's about the people in the room because guess what? Those are your ideal audience. All of them have other stages that they go to. And so we're going to start working. Some of them may have their own stages. And so we will
Yeah.
make those connections, not just with the idea of them becoming clients, but with the idea of what other events are they going to? Who can they connect me with? Who can they introduce me to so that I can get booked on more stages and keep continuing to grow what I'm already doing?
And I love your phases also all around the phoenix. I heard you, you were like flame, ember. I love that. It's just so, so creative. Honestly, that's really great.
Yeah, everything in my business is some sort of flame thing, spark, ignite, ember. It's all,
Oh
yeah.
man. Yeah, I gotta talk to you about your marketing skills. That's awesome. That's just so creative. Now your engagement, it doesn't end, right? You know, just like I said, you don't just throw them on stage at a gig and then say, all right, you're good to go.
Nope.
Yeah. So
I
how
mean,
long does this,
honestly,
yeah.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, how long does this go on?
Yeah, the great thing about working with me is I mean, I love working with my clients long term. And ideally, we work together for at least 9 months so that we get all of the systems in place and you have everything that you need. And then you can take it because it is a repeatable system. You can take it and go with it and just kind of keep doing the things. But
Yes.
if your ultimate goal is to be when I work with my clients, I tell them right up front, most of them come in on a 90-day package. I'll be like, don't expect to get any bookings in 90 days, depending on where they are and how much they're already speaking. But don't
Yes.
expect that, right? Because we're going to start building some momentum. Most of them are seeing bookings starting to come in that first 5 to 6 months,
Right.
which is awesome. But the ultimate goal is for you to have long-term goals and to be within 2 years, you're going to be in that phase where organically you're getting rebookings and referrals because you've done the
Yes.
work in that spark phase. And now you have done the work in the flame and the ember phase to build your reputation as a reliable partner as
Yes.
a solid speaker who's delivering that value to your audience as the expert in your field. And now people are sharing your name and your information. As you know, in business, it takes time for people to know who you are and what you're about and to be comfortable referring you and referring people to you.
That's
So
right.
it really is a long-term strategy. And from there, after that 2 years, what you do with it at that point is up to you and how well you grow it. But most clients, it takes about 2 years for us to really start seeing that kind of progress.
Okay, and that makes total sense to me. It's not an overnight thing.
Nope.
You're not waving a magic wand. It takes a lot of work, so that's totally understandable. I'm
Yeah.
always
I wish I had a
telling,
magic wand.
yeah, I mean, so do I, right? You know, with training, but but it does take a lot of time and effort, and all the leadership stuff that I put out on converting their expertise to um, books, you know, to build credibility. This is the same thing. I also say this speaking engagements as well. can help you build credibility as a leader. If you're trying to advance in the organization, if you're trying to build maybe more credibility with your team to improve productivity, or so I just think that
Yeah.
these are things that are investments in your career, whatever your career is. It's an investment in yourself. So,
Yeah. Yes.
yeah, good stuff. I had a
Yeah. And
question for
I
you.
was, oh yeah, give it to me.
Please continue. Nope, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say to I was just going to add to that to say that one of those things to think about, particularly when you're doing those long-term leadership skill development, working with teams and those kind of things, is to make sure as you stay in touch with your meeting planners that you're getting feedback on those long-term effects of what your training did, what your
Yeah,
speech did.
yes,
Because when you can get those kind of metrics of the long-term impact, those are going to help you get on more stages as well as show the value to that meeting planner that you worked with. So
yes,
just, I'll just add that because you may, as you were talking about working with leaders, that's like, oh yeah, because that's a long-term impact, right?
that's
Doesn't just
right.
happen. They don't leave the room and just immediately they're better leaders. They have to do the work. And so
That's right.
it's another metric you
And,
can track.
and them proving their expertise in that manner really does
Hmm.
have an impact on teams. So,
It really does. Yeah.
so I have one question for you. In your experience, what separates a speaking opportunity that truly moves the needle for a business versus one that just fills the calendar?
Ye- That's a great question. And I think that the real difference is your intention and understanding the audience, right? Like we sometimes you'll get an invitation or or you'll see an opportunity for a summit to apply to speak. I just had one come through my email and I really had to sit down and look at it and be like, is this really going to move the needle? Can I make an impact here to help the people that will attend this summit? And ultimately, will they be in a place where they can, potentially use my services? And so it really goes back to understanding your strategy, right? What is my goal? What am I trying to achieve with the speaking engagement? And sometimes we say yes, and then we find out later that that was, maybe not the best answer, right? It just filled the calendar. It didn't move the needle. But it really comes down to understanding what your real goals are. Can this opportunity meet those goals?
Yeah,
Can the audience benefit from your talk, and can you benefit from being in front of them? And if the answer to all of those are yes, then move forward. Right. And if the answer is, well, I'm not sure, then we need to do some more digging to find out, right? We need to get some more information on the demographics. We need to get some more information on what the opportunity actually is about. And it could be a no. And sometimes it's okay to say no to things like this is not a good use of my time. It's not going to help me achieve my goals. But you got to understand what your goals are.
that's great advice. And we do that in business as well. When we're determining whether to take on a new client, it's okay to say no. If that's not
Yes.
your level of expertise or an area that you are comfortable in, it's okay. I do a lot of referrals sometimes if I'm not the one who's an expertise at learning management system development or something, I might refer that to one of my partners. So
Yeah.
that's good advice. Um, I know a lot of people don't know where to start. They know they have a message that's really important, but they don't know where to start. Um, what's the first step for them? Is it facing fears? Is it just outlining the why, like you spoke of before?
Uh, if they're like, where do I even start? I would start with your why. Because once you understand your why, then we can identify the who and we can identify the where. And once we
Okay.
have those three pieces, then we can find where you need to be and start finding those engagements. But if you're like, okay, I know why, and I know who, but I'm not sure where. Where do I start finding that? Or how do I know where and how do I get on those stages? Then that's when we start talking about, well, let's start small, right? Reach out to your network. But like, you probably see it all the time. I do. Maybe it just shows up in my feed because that's what I look at. But people will post on their LinkedIn, hey, I do this talk about blah, blah, blah. I'm an expert at such and such, and I'm looking for speaking engagements that reach these people. Who do you know that you can connect me with? Just start there. Ask your network, ask your clients, hey, I'm looking to speak about, do you have any groups that would be interested in that? And just start organically working your network and putting it out there because the key is to start, right? Because a lot of us get caught up, well, I don't know how, I don't want to do it wrong, I don't want to reach out to the wrong person, I don't want to say the wrong thing. And I'll wait till I'm ready, right? Well, guess
Yeah.
what? You're ready. So
Yeah.
just
And I
start.
think is most of the time the why their message that they want to get out is that's what the why is, right?
A lot of times the why is it boils down to their message. You know, for example, someone that has gone through some trauma and now they help other people move past that trauma, right? Their why is to help people keep moving past that trauma. But that's all wrapped up in their message, right? And their story is the why, right? To help other
Okay,
people
gotcha.
move past this. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So it sounds like most of the time they have to dig deep to get to that why, right? So like it's a little bit of therapy you're doing, huh?
Yeah, I mean it really does. And a lot of times when I start asking the questions that they're sometimes like, oh, I haven't thought about that. I don't know. Well, we need to know. And it's not just about understanding your why so that we can go find the right stages. It's about understanding your why so that we can pitch you properly to the meeting host, right? Because we need to understand what transformation is going to happen for their audience, what they're looking for. But it's also about when you're not getting the yeses that you're looking for, when you're not getting paid the fees that you want to be being paid, and you're like, I don't even know why I'm doing this right now. Why am I even bothering with this? Well, let's
Yeah,
look at your why.
yeah,
This is why you're doing this. This is why this matters, and this is why we're going to keep moving forward and figuring out how to, what we need to do.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
your why matters, your message matters.
Yes, it does. There's a lot of different messages out there for all different industries. So, um, you are not just a business owner, entrepreneur, strategic, speaking strategist, but you have some other passions in your life. I always like to give guests an opportunity to talk about any causes or organizations close to your heart. Did you want to share?
Yeah, so I'm very passionate about a variety of causes. I have a lot of interests in my life, but I'm really blessed here in Las Vegas. I've recently joined a board that works with the 55 plus community and helping them pursue their goals, their biggest goals. And I love that. I love helping. I used to work in an assisted living community,
Mhm.
and a lot of times they feel like they're forgotten. They don't have a purpose. They don't have a use. I'm too old to do that, and they all still have those goals and dreams inside of them, and they just need somebody to listen and help them figure out how to achieve it. And so, I love doing that. I love that work, and I have big visions of doing some things in my community around our homeless situation. I know a lot of major cities deal with
Mm,
that, smaller cities deal with that.
yes,
It's a real problem here. And
here in Florida.
I don't know how it's, yeah, oh, it's just bad. And so I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's a God-sized vision to help create some
Yes,
housing for the homeless here and get them
yes,
off the streets and get them the resources that they need. Because for most people, um, one, they lost their job and they couldn't find another one, or they had a medical situation that devastated them and they lost their home. And a lot of times it's just they got stuck in the situation that they're in and they don't know how to get out. And so,
yeah.
yeah, I
Or
don't know how it's
mental
going to
health.
happen.
Mental health is another big issue.
Oh, such a
Um,
big issue.
my daughter was special needs, and she struggled as an adult to try and get benefits for Medicaid. I struggled trying to get her benefits for Medicaid, and it's a struggle. If you don't have a support behind you, it's very easy for those who suffer to end up on the streets. So I totally understand. Um, on a side note about the homeless situation in Florida, I saw on the news yesterday they just launched this huge uh, bus. I guess it was a bus that was out of commission, and they transformed it into kind of a homeless shelter on wheels. And so the whole thing holds 48 beds. So they're lined up on the side. So two and then two, right? So it's all along the sides, 48 beds. And then it has a bathroom. They could shower, so I just thought that was amazing. I'm like, why can't we have like a million of those? That's great, but it's a great start, and I would love to one day be able to sponsor some of those, because that's just a great idea
Yeah.
to get people off the street at night, where they can
Yeah,
rest and
and just to be able
breathe.
to rest and
Mhm.
breathe and just not
Yeah.
to maybe do something beyond just surviving. I think that's amazing. I love that
Yes,
idea.
it blew my mind. And they're also going to have a security on the bus just to monitor and make sure that everyone is safe. And um yeah, and then I'm sorry, I forgot. They're also going to have a person who's, I guess, they help people get the mental health benefits and stuff like that. So they're actually going to be there on site, to help if they need any type of help. Maybe they're a veteran, it doesn't have to be um, regular mental health. They could be a veteran, they could have a medical issue or, whatever, but they're going to be there to help them get whatever benefits they need, help them apply.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I was
Yeah.
just amazed. I had to share that. So, one last question before I let you go. I know I've held you up for a little longer than I said. Um, looking back at
No,
your,
that's okay. It's been a great conversation.
yes, it is. Looking back at your own journey, what is the most powerful lesson that you've learned about sharing a message that matters?
Whew, that's a good question. Um, I think that I'll go with somebody asked me a while back if I could put any message on a billboard for my audience, for my ideal clients, what would it be?
Mm,
And this goes back to talking about just starting and being, you're ready, just start where you are. But the message I'll put on a billboard is one day is here and your audience is waiting. There are people that need your message. They need to hear your voice. It matters. And we do a lot of talking, about, well, one day I'm going to, one day I'll get around to it. One day, well, one day is here and you're ready and your message matters. So let's get it out there. Let's start impacting the lives that you were meant to impact
yeah,
and stop waiting for, if you're waiting on a sign from God, don't wait for him to send a pigeon in the road like he did with me, right?
yeah,
Like, this is your sign. Um, let's get your message out there and start impacting those lives because that's how we're going to make the world a better place. That's
yeah.
how we're going to make the impact and make the difference that we want to make is by getting our messages out there.
It's so funny that you said that, because my devotional this morning was, remember that you don't have to worry about how you're going to do something. He's going to equip you, so you don't have to worry, and you are enough. And so whatever, path he sends you on, you're already equipped. So you don't have to worry about
Yeah.
how I'm going to do it. So excellent.
No, it's already done. And you always think about the story of the five loaves and the three fishes, right? We
Yes.
always think we have to do more. We're not doing enough. Well, he can
Yes.
do a lot with just a little. So if you just do a
Yes.
little bit, he'll do the lot,
That's
but you
right.
have to do the little. You have to show up
Yes.
and be willing to do the thing and let him do the work. Yeah.
Yes. So true. Well, this has been such a power-packed interview with Heather Black today. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to book a session and get started with speaking events. To my
Let's
listeners,
go. Let's do it.
yes, we are ready. My listeners, if you want to get started booking speaking engagements, you want to have a session with Heather, all of her information and her links are going to be posted below in the description area below the video. So thank you so much for your time, Heather, and thank you all for listening. It was such an honor having you on the show.
Thank you, Cheryl. It was a pleasure to be here.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Learning League podcast. Until next time, bye.